think Gaspar alone is something that was pretty convincing. I think he's a true artist, and I love his previous work, and I really admired him. And he contacted me on Instagram, which I was quite surprised by, and he wanted to meet up with me. I happened to be in Paris during that time, so I told my agents this happened, and I think I'm gonna meet up with him, and they encouraged me to do so. And we sat down, and he said that he had seen my previous work and that he was thinking of doing a movie with dancers. I said, and at the time I haven't danced for 5 years, so and I wasn't quite sure that I was ready to do that. And I said, okay. And I said, what's your idea? He said, I just wanted to explore dancers spiked with LSD and see what happened. And then he went on talking about his fascination with people losing control. And that's why the repetitive, I think, sometimes subject in his movies of violence, sex, and drugs, and the implication of these elements in a lot of storylines that he had treated. But his fascination for people losing control is something that he liked to explore as an artist, and he wanted to see what dancer would do under the influence and how would that translate. And I said okay, and I asked if he had a choreographer, and he said no, I didn't have any. And I said, are you thinking of one? He said, no, I don't want. And I said, oh, or like if you had like dance is another beast, and if you never dealt with it, I think the approach can be quite, difficult considering everything else he has to take care of. And I introduced him to Nina McNeely, who is a wonderful choreographer, and he ended up loving her, and she did the amazing work that's in the movie. Nina has quite a depth within her work and quite translate quite a lot of narrative through her choreography. So this happened, but then other than that, I remember I told Gaspar I had seen that movie Possession where Isabella Gianni is freaking out, and I always was quite impressed by that scene because I always thought I've first of all never seen her that way, and I also thought, wonders like if did she work with a contemporary choreographer to get to this way of being possessed, and I told Gaspar, could I explore something that is similar in terms of psychology? And he said, okay, let's do it. So the only thing I knew is that that I was playing the choreographer, that we were starting completely fine, happy, and completely well rehearsed about our piece that we were proud to present in order to go to America. Yeah, and that at the end of my climax moment, at the height of my high, I would experience something that was similar to that scene. That's the only thing I knew. The second day before we started filming and rehearsing, Gaspar told me, I think it would be interesting to see a dynamic between her and a dancer and see where that leads. And said, nearly casting there, and said, who do you think should play your boyfriend? And depending on the characters, we both picked, and we thought Roman would be great for that part because he has such a strong personality, and he's so talented, and he has really a strong presence on screen. And we started playing those scenes and playing around with him, and that's where the relationship between me and him started to take place. That was the thing also for me, like it was quite scary to be involved with something that I had very little knowledge on, and I usually over prepare and have so many notes in my script, and then now I didn't have any of that, but the only thing I could rely on is him. And trusting him is the best choice that I've made, and trusting him entirely. And so I stayed focused on him and see where he was trying to go. And I think we vibed off of each other that way. And same thing, I think what he is able to get out of his actors is pretty impressive in general. And what he did with most of the cast, I mean, there's only one other actress. Her name is Sue, and she's wonderful. But other than that, everybody else never been in front of a camera as actors before. And I was quite impressed by all the work they were able to put in. And I think that's because of what Gaspar is able to do. And, he's a true artist. And there isn't a frame that he didn't shoot in the film. He had camera on his shoulders the whole time. The first day we worked with the crane, and he maneuvered that. And I remember the second day we started rehearsals, and he had the camera on his shoulders during rehearsal, and I thought, oh, that's for him to see his path. And I thought the cameraman was going to pick up from that point on, or DOP or something. And no, it's him. He shot every single frame of this movie.